Rams or Patriots? Welcome to the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show, live not from Los Angeles, but that's the location of tonight's game. As always, joined alongside Mike, Coase, Gavin, Tony. We're virtually there. We got the background set up and everything. Big game tonight. Big implications for the fantasy playoffs, big implications for the NFL playoffs, and we got a lot of news to break down. But, of course, joined alongside Mike, Coase, Gavin, Tony. Gavin, how are you doing today?
Well, first of all, Zach, I want to say happy Hanukkah to you, buddy. I know it just started recently, so we're excited. I got a surprise for you tomorrow, so I'm gonna see you tomorrow around this time. Zach, I'm excited. It's Thursday night football. It's not a garbage game tonight. It may look like it if you look at the one team's record and let's start power on the other side. But Zach, there's a lot of implications, and I do got a sad thing to share with you, Zach. I am mathematically out of the playoffs with a 5-7 record. Just missed it. Everybody was 6-6. I was 5-7. That sucks. Me and Matt, our good friend Matt on the show, me versus him for the playoffs. Hopefully he doesn't win, and I do. But Zach, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm in the playoffs. I'm the 2 seed, so I'm excited about that. Unfortunately, had a few losses get away from me. But look, fantasy playoffs in my other league, my big money league, I do have the Rams defense going tonight. I don't think he has anything going tonight, so I am confident I can pull that off, especially with how the Patriots played as of late, though. I mean, it's been scary. And so that's how we're going to start it off today. We're going to recap it with this team. The Los Angeles Rams have had a really good year so far. And again, we've spoken about this in so many ways before. We've spoken about how this football team has been without some of the run game. And I think that's going to be a big factor. Todd Gurley goes down, gets hurt, and you bounce back. You got two really good running backs now, Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers. A quick note here. Yes, happy Hanukkah to everybody. I know that Gavin pointed that out. Just started less than a half hour ago. It's day 1 of 8. We'll find some creative ways to share some different stories on here. We've yet to light our menorah, so we're going to do that tonight at some point. Maybe get some pictures to share on here with all of our viewers. But yes, Gavin, let's get into it. Let's talk about tonight's game. Let's talk about some of the key matchups. We know one of the best cornerbacks in the league in Stephon Gilmore is playing tonight. He'll be matching up against both Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp at different points in the game. There are a lot of key things. There's a lot of what's going on as far as some big perspective, right? Cooper Kupp's had a great year. Stephon Gilmore has been in and out of the lineup with injury. That team is not as talented as it's been defensively in the past, but they just shut out the Chargers last week, and 2 of their touchdowns were scored from their special teams. Of course, their defense stepped up last week, but what are some of the key matchups you're looking for in tonight's game?
It's that Patriots offensive line versus that Rams defensive line. Zach, Aaron Donald came out and said, this game is personal. Even though it's not number 12 back there, it's number 1. He said this game is personal for the Rams defense, especially if you were there the last time when they're in the Super Bowl. Zach, I'm looking forward to how the Patriots are going to protect Cam Newton. Remember, that offensive line is not the best as it was, as we've seen before. Cam Newton does a lot of running. Well, guess what, Zach? Aaron Donald does a lot of getting to the quarterback and throwing him down. Another thing I'm looking out for, too, Zach, is Jalen Ramsey versus an easy, light Patriots wide receiving core. I don't think Julian Edelman's playing today. N'Keal Harry's no one to really worry about. So, Zach, I expect this game to be a blowout. The Patriots will score, but I'm expecting not even to be close. The Rams defense has the upper hand majorly, but you cannot count out Bill Belichick whatsoever. And Zach, when I look at these both teams, right, I look at the season they're both having. One is this is a major win for one of the teams. Zach, we talked about yesterday, 10-6 is going to be the goal to make it into the AFC playoffs. Baltimore gets to win the other night versus the Cowboys, and where they sit at 7-5. If they take a loss this week versus the Browns, they'll be 7-6. And ultimately, if the Patriots lose tonight 6-7, it's over. It's over. You're not going to catch back in the race. But Zach, if the Patriots lose tonight, which there's a high chance they will, it's over. And Zach, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of records in the history being broken due to the fact that Bill Belichick won't make it to the playoffs. But can we talk about the season? At one moment, they were undefeated. They go to Seattle. They lose. Cam Newton gets the virus, and he, the team goes on a spiral. It's been up and down ever since. They're on a nice little 3-game win. They knock off the Cardinals, and they get the Texans, and they get one more team in there as well. Zach, remind me. Oh, they get the Chargers last week.
The Ravens.
And the Ravens, forgive me. So they're on a nice little skid. Zach, It all matters here tonight in LA. Zach, we're not there, but virtually we are. The beautiful stadium we got, by the way. But Zach, I want to say this: if excuse me, wrong thing. If the Patriots win tonight, what does that say for Cam Newton's chances for next year? That's the real question. Because I think it goes deeper into playoff implications. It goes deeper than that. It goes into next year. It goes into draft position. It goes into a whole bunch of things. Will Josh McDaniels be the offensive coordinator next year? Zach, there's a lot riding on this game if you're the Patriots.
There really is symbolically. I mean, on every level, New England has a lot of concerns as far as their future. I mean, you do have one of, if not the best coach of all time. But there's a lot riding on this game. And not only is it a revenge game for Aaron Donald, not only is it a revenge game for Sean McVay, not only is it a revenge game for Jared Goff, it's a revenge game for, as you pointed out earlier, Jalen Ramsey, because he played against them with Jacksonville a few years ago when they blew that lead in the AFC Championship game, and that led them to go play against Philadelphia. I mean, look, let's be honest here. Jalen Ramsey's had an incredible year. He really should be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year.
You got three candidates on that defense. Yeah,
I think that a lot of guys have been out there making their voices heard for the Defensive Player of the Year, but Jalen Ramsey quietly every week is doing his job. And so he shut down DK Metcalf. He continues to do his job. How can you win tonight? I mean, how can you win if you're the Patriots? What are you going to do? You can't run the ball on this team, or it's very unlikely at least. And you sure as heck can't throw the ball against this team, especially with the talent you have at wide receiver. I mean, they've been beaten up on teams, but who have they beaten, Gavin? They've beaten Baltimore. We know their defense has been bad the past few weeks. They beat the Chargers, who have no defense to really talk about, except for maybe Joey Bosa and a couple other guys who have been hurt as well. So, I mean, they lost to the Texans. I mean, that was a game they really should have won. That defense is pretty bad for them. And, of course, they beat the Cardinals in a very close game. So, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I think, frankly, that it's one of the situations where you can't count the Patriots out because Bill Belichick does Bill Belichick things. But, I mean, listen to their season. They're not invincible. They beat Miami week 1 by 10. It's not a shocker there. They lose to the Seahawks. They give up 35 points to them. All right? They beat the Raiders 36-20. That's a very Patriots thing to do. They lose to the Chiefs pretty handily. They lost to the Broncos. Again, their defense has been not as good. San Fran completely lit them up on Jimmy Garoppolo's revenge game. They lose to Buffalo close. They barely beat the Jets. And then here's their winning streak, with the exception of the Texans game. They beat the Ravens.
Don't forget Buffalo too, Zach, if you put that in there.
Which one?
Buffalo, don't forget.
Yeah, Buffalo 20 if they lost with a fumble, of course. So, I mean, some of these games are one possession. All right, but 45-0, 20-17, it's close. They lost 20-27. That's good enough. But let's look at the other team. Let's look at the Los Angeles Rams. All right, because they really need to get some respect put on their name. They beat the Red Hot Cardinals, who have now cooled off significantly. All right. They went ahead and they beat the Buccaneers. They lose to the Niners a few weeks ago. Again, they bounced back, but they beat Seattle. Okay, they beat Chicago. I mean, they beat Washington, which is better now. They beat New York in a close game, but the Rams have really turned it up all of a sudden. There are some vulnerabilities with this team. They could fall tonight, but I don't see it happening. Could it be a close game? I do think it'll be closer than you think. I know you think it's more of a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game. If I have to predict it, I'm going to say it's going to be like 24-16. It will be in reach the whole time for New England, but they'll never really be able to get in control. They've been soft against the run since last year. This is what the Rams like to do best. Against a revenge game, I'm sure Sean McVay has studied and analyzed everything that went wrong in that Super Bowl game. I think that they're going to win tonight. I have no doubt in my mind that Sean McVay is going to at least stir up a really good game plan for them.
Well, Zach, we talked about the run game. They did get Cam Akers back, and Henderson's still there, so they're going to be able to run the ball. Zach, if you can run the ball, it makes Jared Goff's job pretty easier. Stephon Gilmore is not that guy as he was last year. Ultimately, Stephon Gilmore thought he was going to be shipped out during the trade deadline. Well, he wasn't. He's still there. Zach, the Patriots had one of the most opt-outs, especially defensively. A lot of players opted out, but they still got a nice enough talent to still compete with these teams. It's the offense. We talk about the Bill Belichick and can never count him out. That's the truth. But Zach, there's been sometimes in this season where Bill Belichick, even though he had a mask on, he looked kind of defeated. So at some points in the game, he looked defeated. He didn't know what he was going to do. But Zach, Sean McVay is ready for this one. If you ask his guys, they'll probably say, we want this game, especially those who were there for the Super Bowl. I know there's no Todd Gurley and Brandon Cooks and a few others, but if you ask them, they want this game. They want this game more than any other game. And Zach, you talk about their notable wins. You got Arizona on the list. You took a heartbreaker to San Francisco, but that's when everybody came back for San Francisco, and I didn't feel like you had a chance on that one. You destroyed the Seattle Seahawks. All right, there's some probably other honorable mentions. The most embarrassing loss, in my opinion, was to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
To
But
Miami.
Miami was a pretty respectful team too. That was a bad game all around for Los Angeles.
Exactly. And there's no shame in losing Miami because they're good this year. But Zach, something about this Rams team, they flipped the switch and they're on target to win. They're just on a whole nother level right now. And Zach, we talk about implications for the other side. Well, there is some for the Rams. You win, you're in first place for right now. So that's what's at stake for their side. But all in all, they're going to the playoffs unless they lose the next 4 games, which is possible. We've seen teams do that, Cowboys. But listen, Zach, I'm going with the Rams tonight. You think it's going to be a little bit closer? They could be if Jared Goff has one of those horrendous nights, but I don't think so. It's going to be a motivated game. It's going to be a revenge game. I'm going 28-7.
I mean, it's hard to see where the offense comes from for the Patriots. Well, last week, 45 points. But again, you had 2 of those on defensive scores, a couple of turnovers, which gave you short field. I mean, Justin Herbert threw 2 picks. I believe there's a fumble in that game as well. But listen to some of these other things. Cam Newton, 12 for 19, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Do you really think that's going to be enough to overcome the Patriots? Overcome the Rams tonight? Especially when you look at these other things. Damian Harris, 16 carries, 80 yards. There was not much productive offense last week. And the Rams offense is too good to be giving the Patriots special teams and defense more opportunities. I don't think they're going to get as many as they did last week against the other Los Angeles team.
Zach, you talked about the score of last week, and the Chargers got beat on all phases: offense, defense, and special teams. Nothing to go their way. They're not gonna win all 3 like they did last week, Zach. I don't care what anybody says. That was a fluke. We know I'm a big Anthony Lynn fan, but last week that was, oh my gosh, that was awful. That was awful. You're the Chargers. I don't know how you regroup from that. You got Atlanta this week. I don't know. But Zach, going back to tonight's game, there's just no way. Cam Newton has 10 plus rushing touchdowns this year, but he has to get done during the air. He's not running the ball tonight. And Zach, if I may add to, Jalen Ramsey, you know why he deserves Defensive Player of the Year too?
Shut down DK.
Well, that too, and DeAndre Hopkins got his. But Zach, that's not the reason why. Well, that could be part of it, but he's motivating guys like Darius Williams and the other crew, young secondary players, are playing lockdown. It doesn't get any better than that, Zach. It really doesn't. Zach, he's getting the most out of his guys in the secondary, and all he has to do is play his role. And Zach, he's a corner that's not afraid to get his hands dirty and tackle and force a fumble. Oh my gosh, there's no way Cam Newton's getting it done tonight. And I'm a Cam fan, and I like rooting for Cam, but there's just no way. This is a trap game for you, buddy, and nah.
I mean, tell me which one of these guys is going to be able to beat Jalen Ramsey on a route. I mean, Gunnar Oswensky, if I'm pronouncing it right, Oswensky, I think. Oswuski.
Yeah.
Gunnar Oswuski. 1 reception, 38 yards last week. Sonny Michel, 1 for 23. Demir Bird, 2 for 16. N'Keal Harry, 2 for 15. Jacoby Myers, 2 for 15. Damian Harris, 1 for 15. Ryan Israel, 1 for 6. James White, 3 for 1 yard. And Jacob Johnson, 1 for 1 yard.
If I may say, Zach, real quick, that Spurs are not the best secondary for the Chargers either.
Yeah, so what's gonna happen tonight for them? I don't see. I mean, because it's the Patriots, I'm not gonna count them out, Gavin. But you are right. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure I see this team being able to compete tonight.
I'm now a believer in this offense, Zach, and you can't. I mean, Cam Newton looks good running the ball. He has 10 plus touchdowns. Him and Kyler Murray going back and forth with it. But Zach,
they contained Kyler Murray last week, no problem. The Rams, that is.
They did. Look, Kyler Murray looked like he was in a box this past Sunday. But Zach, I don't understand what the Panthers are gonna get into tonight.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, New England just doesn't have the answers. They haven't surrounded Tom with enough for the past few years. He left, and they haven't surrounded Cam with enough. I'm not sure if he wants to stay there. I don't know if he's done enough. That's kind of the next question before we get back to the Rams to kind of recap against some of the mobile quarterbacks. Has Cam Newton done enough this year to prove that he's a starter in this league?
Well, consider the injury he sustained, I'm a little worried about that arm strength, Zach. I'm a little worried about it. It hasn't looked what we used to see it as. Cam Newton wasn't the strongest arm, but he sure as hell wasn't a weak arm. Right now, he's in the middle. I will say this: to be 6-6 with a I'm gonna come out and say with a horrible offense, something to me. If you give him some nice pieces, you get an offensive line, and he works on the arm strength. He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Are there any teams in the NFL right now that would drop their current quarterback, like that are fringe, that would bring in Cam? Maybe Chicago, or I know you're worried about Indianapolis. Do you think that any team would take a chance on Cam Newton right now?
Chicago for sure. With the Jets need everybody. All right, that's no question. Chicago for sure, and I guess you could maybe throw San Francisco in there. I'm not sure, but I know for Chicago definitely.
Now, would you be sad to see Cam in a backup role next year versus, I guess, being a free agent or even starting for New England? Maybe
I
on
would be
a quarterback concern.
I will be a little bit hurt due to the fact that Cam Newton wasn't number. Remember, Zach, we're talking about a guy that went 15-1, went to the Super Bowl, was just diving on a fumble away from winning the Super Bowl to an MVP. Dude, 40 touchdowns, 50 touchdowns almost 1 year.
50 total, maybe including on the ground too.
50 total in rushing, yeah, exactly. And he did that with D'Angelo Williams or not D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart and Mike Silver and all these guys. Zach, it's gonna pain for me to sit here and watch Cam Newton be a backup because we know how good he is, Zach. We know how good he is. But he got screwed over on the release date of the one team, of the Panthers, and what happened? He showed up here. And maybe and I'm gonna throw this team out here, maybe the Broncos too, Zach.
Broncos. Yeah, I mean, Broncos are not in any position right now as a starting quarterback, at least that we see right now. We'll see how that continues, but Drew Lock does not seem to be the big thing right now. That's the answer. I mean, I know you're going to kill me for it. I know that, but I don't know, man. I mean, it was one of my cold takes, that and Detroit, and I mean, whatever though. But let's break down more. A breakdown of the Rams versus mobile quarterbacks. Defining mobile quarterbacks, I'm sure we can pretty comfortably acknowledge who the mobile quarterbacks are. Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, Deshaun Watson. Let's see how these guys have fared off against the Rams this year. Let's start with Josh Allen and the Bills. They won 35-32, but they almost blew that lead. So I'm not sure what the rushing yards are, but let's break it down. Josh Allen, in that game, he ran for 4 carries for 8 yards. That's really not. And they had a big lead in that game too. So that's pretty – I consider that pretty contained. And then he goes up against the Seahawks, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, 8 carries for 60 yards. That's pretty good. But again, 16 points. And he had 2 picks in that game too, so that might be a big factor. And then, of course, most recently against the Cardinals, 5 for 15. So about 25 yards a game on the ground for the quarterbacks against some of the most – I named 3 of the top mobile quarterbacks in this league. Do you think Cam Newton can get anywhere near that 50-yard marker tonight himself?
Well, the one thing that's different between those guys is, one, we know Josh Allen for not being that mobile. All right, Zach, we know that for that much. Even though he has his wheels here and there, but Josh Allen is not known for his running. I mean, he is.
I mean, you can look at Russ and Kyler, and you can see between the two of them, they average about 30 yards on the ground.
Exactly. So here's a difference between Cam and them. Cam is a strong stature. He's going to push through you. Will he get more than what those guys got? No. This Rams defense is good versus mobile quarterbacks. Zach, the reason why they got good versus mobile quarterbacks is Lamar Jackson. Remember, go back to that, what was it, that Sunday night game or the Monday night game? Where Lamar goes to LA and tears him up on the ground and through the air. After that, they did not give up anything to rushing quarterbacks.
They got Jalen Ramsey after that, and they started building their defense for the future.
So, Zach, I don't think Cam Newton does anything tonight on the ground at all. He might get a touchdown if they get inside the 1, do the QB sneak. But he will try to force it. But on 10 carries, I'm going to say maximum 10 carries for Cam Newton, 25 yards.
All right, that's 2.5 a carry, which is, I mean, it's average. It's not what a quarterback really should be getting with the minimum carries, but again, it's 10. So, and finally, Gavin, the big question here, a lot of people were critical of the Eagles to not go out and get Jalen Ramsey last year despite that price tag. The Rams traded a lot for him, 2 first-round picks. There was a third in there, I'm pretty sure. Was the trade worth it? Yes, no, or is it too early to tell?
Well, Zach, think about it. You traded, 2 first-round picks for it, and you paid for it, right? So let's see the things that Jalen Ramsey has done just this year. Lock down DK Metcalf, right? Lock down DeAndre Hopkins, right? Somewhat did business versus Stephon Diggs. Tackle game is on point. He's on the edge. He's getting fumbles. Also, he's scaring the hell out of quarterbacks. You know the stat that they don't talk about, Zach? is how many times a quarterback has looked away from him and thrown to somebody else. We say the same thing about Darius Slay. Zach, there should be a stat on how many times we see a quarterback go like this and then go like this because they looked at him and then they're like, oh, we can't do that. Zach, I'm pretty sure you got your money's worth out of this guy. And if you didn't, and if you don't believe that, I'm sorry, I don't know what you see.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles, we talked about, do we trust them making the right draft decisions? Clearly not. I think that's safe to say right now, for at least the two of us understanding this.
Well, who do we draft with those 2 picks, by the way, Zach? Just let me.
It's only been Jalen Reagor so far. That's our current first-round pick. I don't know who we're picking next year as of right now, but as of right now, it's Jalen Reagor.
As of right now, from what I saw, and I'm not going off this past, I'm going for a whole year. Let me make a trade right now.
All right. I mean, Jalen Ramsey's having a pretty good year right now. Coming up after this, we're going to be giving our final predictions for tonight, a bold take from the both of us, and then we're going to go inside the NBA. Paul George signing a max deal with the Clippers. How do the fans feel about that? Stay tuned. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode. All right, Gavin, I believe before the break, you said 28-7. I said 16-24. We're both taking the Rams tonight. Any bold takes from you?
Ooh, bold take. I don't know. Something tells me I like Jalen Ramsey with 2 interceptions tonight.
I was going to say Jalen Ramsey pick 6. So we're definitely feeling the turnovers tonight for the Rams defense.
Or, it's like, and I'll throw one out there because we kind of the same one. Aaron Donald with a strip sack.
All right, we'll have to see. Now we come back in studio as we shift gears now to the NBA. We hope you all enjoyed that pregame so far. Again, go back to the last segment to watch some of that. But, Gavin, we've been very critical of the Clippers, at least I've been, here after the season. First of all, you fired Doc Rivers, who I really wouldn't blame your issues on because now you just replaced him with pretty much a guy who's been on the bench with him, and no disrespect to Rondo at all.
You fired him for the same person. God love you.
You did, but thank you because we get him. Thank you. I'm not critical of that from that perspective. However, Paul George just signed a Supermax extension today with the Clippers. Gavin, how are you feeling about this?
Zach, let me get this right. And no by any means am I making fun of Paul George. Paul George, I'm your number one. I'm a supporter. Zach, we know this. We know this. You hit backboard, right? And he airballed too, right, Zach? Or it was just backboard?
It was not pretty, whatever it was.
Zach, he does all of this and then gets rewarded with a max deal. Is that what we're doing, Zach? Listen, ladies and gentlemen. Paul George is a phenomenal player. Let's get that out the way. He was on the Sixers with the right pieces and motivated and stuff. We know about Paul George's history with the leg and everything. But the performance I just saw from Paul George, these 3 months ago, Zach, 3 2.
That's 3 months ago.
Yeah. What I saw from that is not a supermax deal right now. That was a regular deal. Maybe a nice little $100 million extension. Maybe this was now he was coming straight off his last year or second last year.
Thunder.
Okay, see, yeah, with Thunder, I was like, oh hell yeah, give him the money.
They signed him. They traded for him. They signed him to a max deal after that first season. They played another season and then traded him.
Exactly. So Zach, I'm not saying Paul George isn't worth the money because I would pay Paul George, but not after what I just saw from him. And the excuses that were made out of him. Zach, I wasn't used right. I was in the corner. Paul George, why don't you? I forget the career number average of his average 3-point shot career wise, but it's not no scrub. I thought he was in the high
40. He's a legit 40 or so % 3-point shooter. I'd say
exactly. So how are you staying in the corner, not being used right? You want to be using the pick and roll game? Fine. But for what? If you're a great 3-point shooter, I get a 3-point shooter mid-range.
The highest percentage of pick and roll last year in his career.
That was true.
What he said was disputed.
Ladies and gentlemen, for me, like I said, I like Paul George, but with the comments and with the week he's had, and the playoff run he had, and I just don't see the money right now. I really don't.
The Clippers will not be a good team this year. They're going to fall off. Maybe in the regular season they'll look good and they can be a top 3 seed, but they're not going to make any noise in the playoffs.
So,
They've done nothing to get better. They've done nothing to get better in this offseason.
So, Zach, let me ask you this then. Who's going to challenge your Lakers? And yes, everybody is his Lakers. He's a Lakers fan.
I'm not a Lakers fan, but I can see the realism because I was right. I picked them to win the NBA Finals, and they did. So who can I see contending with them? Dallas, 100%. I'd say Houston if James Harden is there, and we have some news coming up on that because a lot has broken in the last 24 hours since our last show. And I'd probably say Denver if Utah stays together. And then the another team that I definitely would think of possibly being there is Golden State. But legitimate threats would just be Dallas, Denver, possibly Golden State. Those are the 3 that I see, top 3 that would threaten their title in the West at least.
Zach, I'm and this is gonna be mind blowing to everybody. Look out for the Pelicans, and I'm nobody in any way saying that the Pelicans are gonna represent the West because that's not.
They'll be in the playoffs.
But you see where I'm going with this. But it could take that one team to take the Lakers to 7, and they could win. Talk about the Suns. The Suns are red hot like they were last year.
The Lakers haven't went to a game 6 yet, except against Miami.
But Zach, I'm saying it in a series, in a trap series, like the Suns.
It doesn't exist for the Lakers. They didn't follow the pressure. They didn't follow the pressure.
You don't think so? And I think if now James Harden stays and actually wants to play and stops partying around and messing around, and actually gets down to work, they could make a run. I'm not going to dispute Zach. I don't think Dallas is the first. I think it goes obviously the Nuggets because they were there. Then you got to go with Dallas. I'm going to go Houston. And I'm going to go Golden State because Steph Curry's back and the Wiseman could be used correctly. They could be a force to reckon with. But a really, really cold take, I like the Phoenix Suns' chances too. Not
this is going to be one of the most competitive years in the NBA, in my opinion.
For both sides.
For both sides. Because the teams that didn't make the playoffs are fully rested, but some of them got significantly better. Phoenix, Minnesota, just to name a few. Some teams left early, like the Sixers, who have gotten much more talented. And some teams that are the most talented went all the way, and they're tired. This is going to be one of the most competitive years in the NBA. It's going to be fun, in my opinion. I'm really looking forward to this season a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of great things that we're going to see.
No doubt. Look, Zach, it's coming pretty soon, right? December 22nd, that's 12 days away. If my math is off, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry.
We got a few preseason games here and there as well. We're going to see the Sixers in a preseason game.
And like this comment says, can't wait for the NBA. Neither can I. It's going to be exciting. But let's get into it, Zach. That bad man in Houston. Let's get into it.
Yeah, James Harden again. He came for the coronavirus test. He needs 3. There were 3 or 6. I think I read 6. But
6 straight.
6 straight negative tests, so he can resume actual team. He has not spoken to their head coach at all. And now reportedly he's added Milwaukee to his list of teams to go to. I don't know why anyone will be surprised about this. I mean, Gavin, if we were to join a team, why not join literally any team that's a contender? But
I know where you're going.
Not LA. You think I'm going to the Lakers? I'll help save their team. But no, in all seriousness, I bet John Stockton I'll be passing the ball because I can't shoot. But listen, I think that Houston could be a good team this year. I said this is one of the most talented teams they can have on paper. New coach trying to mix it up a little bit. Do I think James Harden's going to stay? Yes, I do. I don't know if he's going to play there, but he's going to stay. They're not trading him to Brooklyn unless they get Kyrie or KD in return. That report leaked today.
Yeah, that's not happening.
He's not going to Milwaukee. He already has beef with Giannis unnecessarily, so good luck with that, James. And he's not coming to Philly unless we trade our entire bench to him, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. Everyone that he wants to go to doesn't want him right now. Miami sure as hell doesn't want to mix anything up right now with him. So I don't see him moving anywhere. I think it's all talk, all chatter. I can't see James Harden moving at least right now.
Well, James Harden, if I'm James Harden, I would have to, one, no one's going to take your contract right now because the asking price, and one, the draft is already over, so you might as well wait till next year anyway. But you're telling me, Zach, would you want to try to play with a John Wall that, one, seems motivated and ready to come back, haven't seen him in 2 years, and a Boogie Cousins that keeps getting knocked down and punched in the face, hypothetically speaking, he's coming back. Zach, they can run a mean pick and roll with them too. You can space the floor. You got Christian Wood there. You got a new coach.
Christian Wood.
You got a coach of Steven Silas, who we haven't even seen coach yet. I think it's a little unfair to, well, I love a little unfair to Steven Silas that James Harden has one not even showed up yet, and two is not even giving you a chance. And unfair.
We were talking about the possibility of tanking for Houston just a few weeks ago. And it's kind of like with Brett Brown when they decided to tank with him. I don't know. This is a very tough situation. I feel bad for their coach. Obviously, a respectful career for him so far. Now he's going into the coaching area. I think it's really unfortunate. It's a tough situation because it can be all prevented. You have a potential MVP, former MVP on your team, and he's not cooperating right now. And it's not like he's anything special. I'm sorry. As much as James Harden's game is respectful, his locker room issues, from what we've heard with him and Chris Paul back in the past, and obviously him and Russell Westbrook couldn't get along enough to play more than one season together. Mike D'Antoni voluntarily stepping down. Obviously, there's a reason for that. And Daryl Morey leaving. Of course, we know some of the things that he had said last year that stirred the pot up, but he's a Sixer now, so we like him. But in all seriousness, there's a reason that some of these guys, big name guys, have left Houston. Just keep an eye out for that. And some teams might be wary of that right now with James Harden.
Zach, his play style. We talk about James Harden being the best scorer of all time, or this generation right now. Because I mean I disagree with the all time because it's Kobe and Michael Jordan, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But Zach, his style of basketball does not win championships. It gets you close. It gets you the Western Conference. But Zach, you can't just sit there and dribble, and then pass out and shoot. The reason why they got bounced early last year was due to the fact that they were undersized. Why? Because they went to compliment Russell Westbrook. When Russell Westbrook wasn't doing what they asked him to do in the playoffs and actually doing horrible, what did they do? They just stopped. So Zach, I gotta say this to you. If you are Steven Silas, you gotta get the ball in James Harden's hand. All right. Turn him into a shooter, not the point guard, not the guy that's gonna hold the ball for 20, 30 minutes. Turn him into the shooter, right? And then sit there and give the ball to John Wall and run pick and roll with him and DeMarcus Cousins and space the floor and see how that works.
Hopefully it does. It's unfair to the coach. I feel bad for him. I think that James Harden needs to give it a chance. And he's went back. He's been with them, but now there starts rumors speculating again about the possibility of him wanting to leave again. I don't know what to say. I hope that it works out. I would like to see how this team works because it's one of the more talented, more better fit teams for James Harden. But he's got to change his play style a little bit if he actually wants to go win a title.
He has to fix his play style for sure, Zach. It's not going to win you a championship. Charles Barkley said before, or Zach, that hell, his type play style, it might win you a wide championship, but that doesn't mean nothing. Zach, I hated it, by the way.
No doubt. With that being said, Gavin, we know how controversial the ESPN Top 100 list has been. I do have another one that I do agree with. It's the CBS Top 100 list. We're going to just go through a few key names there right now, see where we stand on them. We'll start with the back end because I think there's a lot of good players in here. No rookies on this list. I'm not sure if there were any on ESPN's list. I don't think there were. I think that you really shouldn't have any rookies on there. But we'll start with the most notable, going backwards, 98 Derrick Rose and 97 Danny Green. How do you feel about those two?
That's fair. It's respectable. I hope Derrick Rose can find his touch again. Magic talent. Arguably one of my favorite players. Zach, you remember one of the youngest MVPs ever.
The youngest MVP.
The youngest.
Tried to bring Chicago back as a 1 seed, tried to reignite the city. Unfortunately, he fell short.
His play style hurt. Zach, his play style hurt himself, sadly.
It's unfortunate, too, because he's been a good player during his career. 95, Devontae Graham. 94, Ricky Rubio. It's nice to see Devontae Graham getting the respect he deserves, for sure.
Zach, Devontae Graham is one of those players where he should have won, Player of the Year.
Most improved player.
Most improved player, but he didn't.
He wasn't even on the qualifiers.
Should have been. I'm disappointed on that one. I really am. He dropped the ball.
And coming in at 92, Patrick Beverly. How do you feel about Patrick Beverly being at 92, Lou Williams at 90?
Well, they didn't have the best of seasons. Patrick Beverly's not an offensive player, and I don't even know where he was in the playoffs. And Lou Williams, that's fair enough. They're not impact players.
Number 87, Josh Richardson. Number 86, Seth Curry. I think it's kind of interesting that they're back-to-back.
I feel like Steph Curry should be higher, and Josh Richardson's fine where he is.
I think so. We'll see how that fits. I do like that move in Dallas. Number 85. All right, now it's getting funny. Al Horford. Number 84, J.J. Redick.
Al Horford didn't have a good year, Zach. He could be.
Should he be above? Do you think he should be above Pat Bev, Lou Will?
One of those guys in the bottom list, maybe Graham and Horford should definitely switch, for sure.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll see this year. Of course, this list will be pending change, but this has been a list so far. It's been pretty good. I'm not sure what the back end will take for the ESPN one, but obviously the top was not so great. Next three straight: Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, and Marc Gasol, all Lakers this year. Gavin, you like where they all sit?
They're fine just where they at. They're not impact players, but they did just enough. And Montrezl Harrell was 6 man.
And then we got Kevin Love at 77, Buddy Hield at 76, Duncan Robinson at 75, and Serge Ibaka at 74.
I feel like Duncan Robinson could be just a little bit higher. No one thought he was going to come out here and do what he did, and he was on another mission.
And we got 73, Blake Griffin. Do you like Blake Griffin at 73, or is that too high for him?
That might be a little too high, Zach. We talk about Steph Curry. You guys should switch because Zach, Blake Griffin's knees just aren't there no more. And it pains me to say that, and it really does. But it's the truth. It's the truth. Blake Griffin is not the same.
Number 72, Tyler Hero, and 71, Joe Harris. Do you like where they both sit?
They're fine just right there. I like that. Tyler Hero didn't really come on till later.
We have Victor Oladipo at 70. Do you like him at 70?
He didn't play half the year. That's a fair spot, Zach. Victor Oladipo will trend up this year. I promise you on that one.
We got Goran Dragic at 64. Do you think he should be above both Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero?
Yes, I believe so, Zach. He was one of those guys that no one talked about on that Heat team that kind of ends
He averaged, I think, 20 points in the playoffs. He was the second leading scorer behind Jimmy.
Exactly. And when he went down, you saw how distraught the Heat looked for a little while. But I wouldn't put him any higher than where he is right now.
And coming up next at 61, Tobias Harris. Do you like where he sits?
I feel like he should be a little bit higher, but I don't know who he should replace.
And how about this one? At 59, we have TJ Warren. Do you think he's a little bit too high?
He's overrated. There you go. Zach, we talk about the switch right there. There's a switch right there. Actually, if you want to get...
You think TJ Warren's better than Tobias Harris? No. 50, coming in at 58 is D'Angelo Russell, too, for frame of reference.
Fine. It's fine right there.
And how about this one? Robert Covington at 53.
You did that one on purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, look, Zach,
53.
Robert Covington played a big role. He played center this year for the Rockets. Did a decent job. Couldn't do much more. Obviously, out undersized. But
rule of film, we got Gavin giving credit to Robert Covington. He's coming a long way for sure. Number 46, Zach LaVine. Number 45, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. 44, Sabonis. 43, Marcus Smart.
The first three guys you named in that list are going to be even better this year. Maybe not Sabonis, but the two.
They've all been on the way up significantly for sure.
And I think this is a contract year for LaVine too. So be on the lookout.
Maybe he'll come to Philly, though. I've been rooting for that one. The next one, big name on our list, John Morant at 39. I think he could be higher, but he's only going into his second year. I like where he sits at 39.
Well, Zach, he did lead Memphis almost to the playoffs. They were in the playoff game. They struggled in the bubble, but they pulled it out. Zach, John Morant was a force to be reckoned with. He almost ended Kevin Love's career, even though it's already been over. But Zach, he's going to trend up this year. He should have been. I argue with Zach, top 25.
How about this one at 36, Draymond Green, and 35, Russell Westbrook.
Draymond Green didn't step up to the plate when we needed him to. Zach, he digressed a lot. Zach, a lot. Talking from being the most important player in the finals run where they blew the 3-1 lead to being a no-name almost. And yes, I know that was a little disrespectful, but it's the truth. Russell Westbrook had a rough year this year. I expect better.
We got 33, Kemba Walker, and a little bit of a shocker. I think should be a little higher up. 32, Brandon Ingram. I think Ingram should definitely be a little higher.
Brandon Ingram had a great year. He should be in the top 25 too, Zach.
Next one, we got Kristaps Porzingis at 30, Rudy Gobert at 29.
That's fair. Kristaps didn't play that much, and Rudy Gobert is still a defensive force to be reckoned with. Not a fan of what he did to start the virus, or not start the virus, but how he played around with it, but that's not on court. So,
how about this one, though? 28, Chris Middleton.
Hell no. No. Switch Ja Morant and Chris Middleton right there. Hell no. Listen, Chris Middleton never shows up when needed, and that's the reason why Giannis probably won't sign the Supermax, Zach.
And then we got 24, Zion Williamson. Is that too high based on the current sample size, or do you think he's fine there?
I gotta see more, but from what we saw, it was cool. It was cool for him where he started. So Zach, I gotta go. That's fine right there. But
All right.
John Morant should be higher.
Yeah, I think Morant should be above Zion in my opinion there right now. We got Kyrie Irving at 23. Above him are both Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell. How do you feel about that one?
I like it. Both guys had respectable great playoffs, and Donovan Mitchell had an underrated season, and so did Jamal Murray. Zach, they're going to get better. I'm a firm believer in that.
All right, and then we got the top 20 now. Starting at 20, what I think is the best defender in the league, Ben Simmons at 20. How do you feel about Ben Simmons?
Well, Zach, you saw how much Ben Simmons means to the Sixers, especially when he's not there. Guard 1 through 5 should arguably had a chance of defensive player of the year, didn't get it. But right there, you know why, Zach? He's not shooting still. That's
All right, and we'll just see again, number 19, Chris Paul. 18, Bam Adebayo. I like where he is there. Do you like Karl Anthony Towns at 17 over Bam Adebayo?
I do not. I'm not a firm believer in Karl Anthony Towns. He's been in the league for a little too while. Mad respect to the brother. He had a rough past couple months with the virus, so I'm wishing nothing but the best for him. But Bam Adebayo is a better player.
Absolutely. I think that it's been a big year for Bam. He's had a really good time with Miami. They've had some playoff success. Maybe Karl Anthony Towns with a healthier team, this should be better. Devin Booker at 16, Paul George at 15. How do you feel about Paul George at 15?
Ahead of Devin Booker? Zach, you like this list? Because I sure as hell don't. Flip
It's
that.
better than ESPN's because Anthony Davis and LeBron are 1 and 2 on that list.
Oh, yeah, no, anything's better than that list.
There's been a lot of criticism on ESPN's list. This is CBS's. I like this one.
Listen, Zach, Paul George is not top 15. All right. Devin Booker is. You hit backboard. I'm sorry. You're a star. You hit backboard. What do you want me to say?
At 14, Bradley Beal. 13, Jimmy Butler. Is 13 too low for Jimmy Butler?
It might be. I gotta see who's in front of him. But I like where Bradley Beal is.
All right, let's go through the last 12, and we'll see if Jimmy Butler can be put above any of them at 12. Joel Embiid. Do you like Joel Embiid at 12?
I do.
Jason Tatum at 11?
I do.
Wow. At 10, Nikola Jokic.
That's pushing just a little bit.
How about number 9, Damian Lillard?
You gotta leave Dame right there.
8, James Harden.
Leave James. He had a great season today.
7, Kevin Durant.
And
He was hurt last year. I don't know if you can put him any higher right now.
you can't. You can't.
All right, number 6, Luka Doncic.
Luka had a fantastic year. Almost MVP. Should have been.
Almost 30 points a game and a triple-double on top of that. On this list, number 5, Anthony Davis.
That's fair. He did a lot.
We're in the top 5, top 4. Would you have found another place for Jimmy Butler? Do you think you could have swapped him and Nikola Jokic?
It would have to be Jokic. That's the only swap.
So he'd be at 10. He'd be sitting right at 10.
Yeah.
And then number 4, Steph Curry.
Listen. Should be high.
Look, he was hurt most of last
He
year.
was hurt. But Zach, I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna leave the fanboy out of me out. I'm gonna leave it right there.
All right. Again, Steph Curry at 4. Giannis.
The top 3.
Do you like Giannis at 3?
Who's ahead of Giannis?
Kawhi Leonard and, of course, LeBron James. It's tough for Kawhi because he didn't come up in the playoffs, but neither did Giannis last year. I like where he is at 3. I do like him at 3.
Giannis at 3 is fine. That playoff performance, you could drop Kawhi Leonard back a little bit, but Kawhi is fine at 2, and no surprise, him at 1.
LeBron James comes in number 1 on both lists that we've looked at today. Gavin, what are your thoughts on LeBron James coming in at number 1 on the NBA's list for current players?
Well, Zach, I gotta give it to LeBron James. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta give it to LeBron James, and here's why. Even though his comments about this being the hardest championship, all right, stop it.
Do you not think that this was one of the 2 hardest championships he's played in?
If you want to talk about from outside of basketball, yes. Everything
Does that have something to do with it?
but
You can hear a pin drop during those
Hold on,
games.
Zach, hold on. Outside of basketball, yes. With everything going outside of basketball, yes. But you wanted. I don't believe this is the hardest challenge.
They put you in a bubble and you had to be away from
You
your
had
family
another
and
superstar.
away from normal life. All you had was
You had
basketball and the
another.
golf course.
You
That's
had
what
a
we do.
super. You had a superstar versus.
Circumstances he's talking about. Do you think that this was a top 3 hardest circumstance? The
No,
3-1 is probably the hardest. Can you name a championship that was harder than coming back from 3-1?
I mean, unless you come back from 3-0.
Which hasn't happened. So we can agree that's up there. It's nothing to LeBron. It's just a sheer fact coming back from 3-1. But Gavin,
But
there's
this is not up there.
why is it not up there? What is wrong? It's a bubble. You literally were forced to be in a bubble.
I get the bubble
In the
aspect.
middle of a pandemic, your
I
season is
get the whole pandemic, right? I get
no
that.
fans.
But
So that gives
but
the
here's
other benefits like
but Zach,
Miami.
here's go
You're
ahead.
telling me that
I'm
this
gonna-
was not top 3 on your list for hardest NBA Finals earned
well, for him or for everybody in general?
in general. Why not? You don't think this was a tough circumstance?
No.
And why is that?
For starters, you had now I'm not going to say here, ignite. It's top 5 for sure or top 3. It will be if it's going to be top 3, it's going to be at number 3 at most. It's going to be at number 3 at most. But Zach, the tougher one I would have to say is obviously 3-1, and maybe the first one for Miami, because remember you lose to Dallas and everybody was raising questions about will this work? Will this work? But Zach, the reason why I won't give this one higher than that one is the fact because you had Anthony Davis, arguably another superstar, the best big in the league. All right, versus I'm not no disrespect to Bam about or Jimmy Butler, they're borderline superstars, but they're still considered all stars. That's why you had don't. We're not going to sit here and sit like there was no other superstar. Now if this was just LeBron James, and let's go back to Miami, not Miami. Let's go back to Cleveland. If this was LeBron James versus a Kyrie Irving who's an all star and Kevin Love who's somewhat all starish, and we put him in this bubble environment and he did what he did, yes, I would say yes, but no, this is not. This is not. Now, if you want to talk about outside of basketball, right? You want to talk about with the social injustice and everybody looking for him as he's the answer and him starting more than a vote, go for it. Go for it. But I don't agree. I don't agree.
So what exactly are your thoughts when he said he won 2 of the toughest championships?
3-1 is the toughest one, right? And I would say his first ever championship was the second toughest one.
All right, and that's for LeBron James.
Because you know why? You know why is that?
Why's that?
Because they call him the king, right? He was doing everything but winning the finals. He goes to one with Miami, right? And loses to Dallas. Then the next year he comes back and he wins. That's what because people starting to question.
Yeah, I mean, you bring in 3 of the top 4 draft picks in 2003. You go all in on them in 7 years into their careers.
7 years of careers and they don't win the first one. They come back and win it, and they win the next year. That's my opinion. That's my second hardest one.
All right, well, we'll have to see how it rolls out coming into this season. I guess LeBron's going to play in the opener. It looked like he wasn't interested at first, but they're going to be fine. They're going to be finding on national television, so I think that he's probably not going to rest for it. But let's see them go back to back. I think it's going to be tough to go back to back, not because of the talent, but because of the fatigue and all things like that. But hey, you know what? The GOAT can do anything.
I mean, they're going to look. LeBron and Kawhi Leonard is the king of load management, so we're going to see them not play a lot of games.
LeBron played almost like 80 last year.
I'm saying.
We said last year he's not doing load management. People actually criticize him for that.
Well, for not doing load management?
Or not because he's older.
Well, I give him props.
Actually, they're arguing about that on shows.
I give him props for not doing load management. Why? Because people want to watch you play.
Of course they do. We're paying to watch you. If you're getting paid a lot of money, you're gonna show up to work.
I'm good on this topic then. What's your honest opinion on load management as a consumer, and then thinking from a player's perspective, or you can do it however you want to look at it first.
If you work in a hospital, you have planned days off. You don't get to pick and choose when you otherwise because people's lives depend on it. You sure as heck don't make as much money as NBA players. That's what I'll leave it at.
For me, is when I don't appreciate load management when you have that team that comes around once a year. Once a year. Zach, the Lakers come around once a year. The Warriors come around once a year. Zach, I got lucky to see Steph Curry once, right? Now I know you're a big LeBron guy, and how would you feel if LeBron James would have come to Philly and not be here, not playing, but sitting on the bench perfectly healthy? That's the problem I had with load management. If you're going to sit out versus games where you know you'll be there for 2 times a year, meaning, all right, I go to Golden State twice, I'll sell one of those games. But if you come to an Eastern Conference team and you only go once a year and you sit out for that, shame on you. And you're perfectly.
And national television too is going to be a big thing. I think that's going to be a big, big factor for it. I think that it's like I pointed out what I thought about it. So I think that there's people out there who don't have the luxury of just load management, but I do think that they got to put it in perspective, and I think that's going to be important.
It also questions the love for the love of the game at that point.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say it does impact their legacy to an extent. That's the difference between Kawhi Leonard and guys like LeBron James, Michael Jordan. They didn't take load management like Kawhi.
Yeah, okay.
Kawhi's got a lot since he's left the Spurs.
I'm glad you pointed out, Zach. Michael Jordan played every game. Kobe Bryant played every game. All these guys play every game.
That's how the game was. It's changing. That's how the game was back then.
And when you got guys from the older generation looking at this new generation, of course they're gonna be pissed because they played every game. They think your load management is a joke. Zach, you're getting
that in itself honestly should invalidate Kawhi Leonard as ever being part of the top 5 conversation.
Who put Kawhi Leonard in top 5? Who was doing that?
People were talking about last year if he was going to one day get up there after they won the Raptors, but no, I don't think so.
If we're talking about, if you want my honest opinion, a person from this league right now that would be the next person to enter this conversation of being top 5 or something, it might be Kevin Durant. And then
he's one of the most unique players. He's one of the most unique players ever. So top 5 right now. It goes LeBron, Michael, Kobe, Kareem. From there on, you can speculate as much as you want, but I think that I do think that I don't think Kawhi can get there, but I do think that Kevin Durant can. But
there's some things that Kawhi Leonard that will always keep him from not getting there. It's a shame because he is a great player. Now defensively, I don't think he'll ever cross the Scottie Pippens and Dennis Rodmans and those type of guys. But
it was a different game back then. I feel like you can't even have a defensive conversation right now. You can't compare today's defense.
You're right.
Again, you have to defend the 3 nowadays, so it is different. But again, Scottie Pippens and things like that. I wish we could see Scottie Pippen against a Steph Curry. I'd be curious what happens. It's like watching Ramsey versus a Julio Jones versus a Tyreek Hill. They're different types of receivers. They're different types of NBA players. How does the defender respectfully, go back and respond to that?
The way you see, honestly.
All right. Well, we do have about 7 minutes left. Coming up after this, Gavin and I are going to just get started on a conversation that we think should stir up the pot a little bit. We're going to continue to break it down tomorrow. Go into next week with it, possibly debate it, bring some guests on to decide it. But we have some time to have the open conversation. So stay tuned. Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel. You will see 2 links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page, where you can become a monthly donation member. 10% of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because you can always share this. Again, we'll be touching base as far as the holidays, where our donations are going this month. Stay tuned. A lot of new things coming in the new year for our show. Stay tuned. We continue to collab and figure out what we can do. We're celebrating 6 months and 2 days now. It's been a great back end of the year for the show perspective. I know the year as a whole has been a rough boat, but hopefully smooth sailing from here on out as we continue to progress and work through all this together. But Gavin, I know that there's a few things we wanted to cover before the show ends today, and it is all-time starting lineups. Now, there are different ways that we can approach it. Authentically, we can go at position like the best point guard, the best shooting guard, the best small forward, the best power forward, the best center. But then we can also flex positions like, okay, maybe we can move LeBron James to point guard, or we can move Kobe Bryant to small forward, or we can move like Wilt Chamberlain can be center and then Kareem can be power forward. There's a lot of ways that we can do it. But now is the time for us to kind of have an open dialogue. We kind of briefly discussed it before the show. But we know this is one of those things we can definitely have a good debate on who deserves to be the starting 5, not top 5, not the Mount Rushmore, but the starting 5 lineup. Who would work the best together?
Go ahead, Zach. I'm gonna let you go first. I'm gonna let you go
I
first.
just gotta think out loud. I think that my point guard would probably want to be a passive guy, someone who's willing to give up the ball, doesn't necessarily need it in their hands. I think Magic Johnson, John Stockton, even LeBron James, honestly, with the passing. But I'll go with Magic Johnson. I think he's pretty comfortable at the one. My number two is definitely my dominant guy who can step up at the end of the game when it matters the most, without a doubt in my mind. It's Michael Jordan. My number three, similar style to that. It's Kobe Bryant is definitely the person that I think of, but can Kobe and Michael work on the same team? I don't know. Again, this is going to be a fluid conversation. I'm going to do some research over the weekend. We're going to prepare for next week and release our arguments. For now, as a placeholder, let's say Kobe Bryant goes there, LeBron James at the 4, and Kareem at the 5. I mean, that's what I'm
And
looking
this is
at
your
now.
flex lineup, right? This is your flex lineup, right?
They're my flex lineup, so I can move guys around. True lineup, I mean, Magic. I'll probably go Magic, MJ, LeBron. I'm lost at power forward, but I definitely go Korean center. But power forward, I have to research because there's a couple good guys out there that have been productive in their careers. I mean, you can think of Dennis Rodman as a rebounder, but again, I think the flex lineup is about fit and most talent. Or no, I guess the flex lineup is more about the most talent. The set lineup is about best player at the position, and then you have the lineup that's best for the fit of all the players.
Zach, I know this is gonna start an argument. I know it's gonna start an argument, but for my flex lineup, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna run Steph Curry at point guard. Well, actually, no. Excuse me. Let me scratch that. I'm gonna run Allen Iverson at point guard.
Trent would definitely respect that for sure.
If Trent's here in the comments, or Trent's watching this later on, I'll get a call from him later on. I'm gonna put Kobe Bryant at shooting guard. I'm gonna put Michael Jordan at small forward. Here's where it gets interesting. I could go Kevin Durant, obviously. Kevin Durant can play the 3 or the 4 because of his length. I can go Dennis Rodman, arguably the best rebounder in the game and defender in the game. You can go many ways. I'm gonna go with Kevin Durant. Space the floor. He can shoot. He can do everything. He's 7 foot. And I'm going with Shaquille O'Neal. One of the best dominant centers, force to be reckoned with. You couldn't do anything about it. Now, the lineup that can't be flexed. I'm gonna go Steph Curry at point guard. Game changer. He changed the game for real. I mean, everybody wants to start shooting threes now. Zach, if you're not pulling from 30, you're not good. You're not good at basketball, apparently. That's the new way. Now, there's a lot of guys I could go at this shooting guard position, Zach. I can go with T-Mac. I can go with Allen Iverson. I can go with Kobe Bryant. I can go with MJ. I'm going to go with Michael Jordan. Here's why. You have your go-getter. You have to give me the ball at the end of the game. You have the I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. I don't give a damn who has what to say about it. I'm going to go, once again, I'm going to go Kevin Durant at the small forward position. Here's why. He's a freaking
Kevin Durant and who'd you have? You had Steph Curry at point guard, right?
Yes, I have Kevin
I think
Durant.
Curry's a good fit. Michael Jordan, they're good, but I don't know about Kevin Durant with Michael Jordan.
Here's why. Michael Jordan wasn't the best three-point shooter. All right, he wasn't horrible, but he wasn't the best. Three-point shots wasn't his thing. Michael and anybody from that era can correct me.
Except for when he played against Clyde Drexel the first time.
I'm all for it. Well, yeah, I mean, he let him through the listen, Zach. He let him up through the air. But Zach, the reason why I put Kevin Durant on this team, think about it. Michael Jordan can handle the ball, correct? Steph Curry's arguably the best three-point shooter of all time, correct?
And he doesn't even need the ball in his hands, too. He's a good point guard that can move around.
Doesn't even need the ball in his hand. Then you got Kevin Durant that can shoot the 3, and you can throw it to him in the low post, too. But shooting a 3 ball, and he can handle, and he can do all that fun stuff. So Michael Jordan can kick out to those guys and also drive them away. Now here's where it gets interesting. You talk about power forwards. You talk about, Malone. You talk about, you could say Blake Griffin, even though, I mean, old Blake Griffin, maybe. No. Zach, I'm going with Dennis Rodman. Defense, rebound. Dennis Rodman scared the living hell out of you if he was guarding you. If Dennis Rodman was guarding you, you're not scoring.
He's got, what, 5 rings?
Yes, 5.
Got 2 with Detroit and 3 with Chicago.
Now, but here's the thing, too. Now, Tim Duncan was that guy. All right? Timmy D was that guy. But I'm a Dennis Rodman guy, defense and all that great stuff. And then Zach, you said Kareem, right?
I said Kareem with my big and my flex lineup.
I'm gonna go Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain, you cannot stop Wilt Chamberlain in the post. If any one of these guys misses, he's grabbing one of those two guys are grabbing the rebound, and Wilt or Dennis Rodman, and they're gonna put it right back up. Zach, Dennis Rodman had a 3-ball too. Wasn't the consistent, but he had one when needed. I don't know. This lineup is built off. You got shooters, you got a go-getter, you got your defense, and then you got your low post man. And it pains me because there's some people on this list, or there's some other people I feel like that could be on this list. You can put Shaquille O'Neal in here, all right? You can sure as hell put Timmy Duncan on here. You can put David Robinson on here. You can put Hakeem Olajuwon, Sir Charles Barkley, right? Larry Bird, T-Mac, Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant for sure. But it's something about the mix of defense and offense I have on this lineup. I like it. The only one who I don't like for defense,
can you work inside?
probably can. The only one that wouldn't be able to work inside as well, and this hypothetically speaking, I gotta do my research before I come out here and say it. Is this a cold take? Dennis Rodman might be the only one that wouldn't be able to work inside.
He wouldn't be a scorer for you.
He wouldn't be a scorer, but I wouldn't need him to score.
That's an old. I mean, that's the old style. I'll tell you what my starting lineup is right now. I think. Now here's my question: is Ray Allen a 2 or a 3?
I would say he's a 2.
Okay, so that eliminates him. I'll go again. Magic Johnson. I like him there. He can score for you. He's fast inside. I go with him at the 1. Michael Jordan at the 2. LeBron James at the 3. At number 4, I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. I'm between Kevin Garnett and Dirk Nowitzki because Dirk can shoot. And if it depends on my big, but I'm gonna go. Let's say we gotta go with Dirk, and then the big man. See, that's tough because Magic is not going to give you as much offensive production. Of course, Michael will, LeBron will, and Dirk can. I'm gonna go with Shaq.
So here's
my offensive scorer. Let him scare them. Dirk can pull up if he has to. With the exception of Shaq, everyone on my team can pull up from 3 if they need to.
So here's
the big I would put in there would be able to pull up from there. Same with you. You're in 4 and 5 will not be as productive. Of course, Wilt is one of the best scorers of all time, so I think you'd be good with that. Both of our front courts both of our back courts are pretty good as well. The interesting lineup would be Magic Johnson or Steph Curry and vice versa.
I would love to see anybody. I would love for someone to come on here and put theirs on there. Zach, here's where our lineup is different. Your team is based off the inside, right? LeBron James is not the best 3-point shooter, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I miss your 2 guy. Your 2 was Michael Jordan. Once again, he wasn't the worst 3-point shooter, but he wasn't the best. Mid-range and in the air was his best. Magic Johnson couldn't shoot the 3-ball, but inside was his best. It's a lot of crowded space in there. It's a lot of crowded space. Kevin Durant could guard LeBron James easily. Dennis Rodman can sure as hell take away Dirk Nowitzki. Well, Wilt Chamberlain and Shaq, that'll be interesting. I think Shaq might get the best of them. Offensively. Defensively, Wilt is one of the best scorers. But if you want to get technical, I could take Wilt out and I could put Hakeem in.
I mean, your center position is pretty easy to change. For me, I don't know because I like having a delegator at the. I mean, I could put Steph Curry in there, but I think that I like Magic Johnson in there because he'll be fast inside. Him and Shaq, everybody else get out of the way. Let Dirk be a mid-range shooter. Possible. My team will be more of a mid-range team. It will be a lot of 2s, a lot of long 2s, but I'm okay with that if the production is up. Now, given that you're the best 3-point shooter of all time, it's going to be a different conversation. But these are definitely 2 teams with their strengths respectively and their weaknesses respectively.
Zach, we're going to get some other people on here because I would love to hear
debate. Make a list of them, run through 2K and see what happens.
Well, Zach, the next time I come over there, we can run it. We can make that happen. It's not going to be a pretty outcome for you.
We'll have to see, possibly live stream that. Stay tuned for that. With that being said, again, Rams and Patriots kick off in just about 2 hours. Just checking my phone to see if we have any other major sports updates. Nothing that I see. But other than that, everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of the Morning Philly Sports Talk Show here today on Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow on Friday. We're not sure what time yet, but stay tuned. Again, social media will be reaching out, letting you know what times and everything. And other than that, thanks again, and have a great day.
Have a good one, everybody. Happy Hanukkah, Zach.
If you enjoyed today's video, Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of our videos. Again, thanks